Hi, my name is John Seaton, and welcome to the Enterprise Tech Content Creators Podcast. In this podcast, we talk to creators who are making content specifically for social media in the enterprise space. Now, through their lens, we try to answer a number of questions. One is, how do you get started? Two, what are the challenges? And three, what are the benefits of posting? The hope is that through these conversations, we'll help you get started on your content creation journey. So today, I'd like to welcome Jameel Rehman, who is based in Australia. Yes, we are international here on this podcast. Jameel was a cloud infrastructure specialist at Cisco, and he recently left Cisco at the top of his game as a top 1% seller to start his tech sales academy, which he founded. So we're going to get into that a little bit in this podcast. He is a comedian, founder of the Aussie. How do you pronounce that? Aussie? How do you say that?
Aussie. Yeah, you can say Aussie.
Aussie Comedy Network.
Yeah.
He's a musician, a podcaster. I listened to some of his podcasts. It's called The Binge Thinker. Highly recommend it. And also a producer. So as we can see, he generates tons of content and is part of the content creator economy in Australia. Also should note that Jameel also went viral on TikTok with 13.2 million views. So we're going to get into how that happened and that story and everything. So just like to say, Jameel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, John. And I appreciate the research, mate. It's funny to hear all of those things that I sort of define myself as from somebody else, because for me, it sounds like a lot. And then when you say it, it sounds like a lot as well. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I have done more with my life than I think.
Yeah, and you're still young. Look at you. You've got a lot of things going on. And I did a little deep dive on LinkedIn and TikTok last night. And I think you've got a lot to contribute to this conversation. But I wanted to start with your journey, and can you talk about when you really started to create content and what led you to create content, especially for the tech world?
Sure. So, I mean, look, I am 33, so I've been immersed. I was the first generation that got immersed in social media. And then, as someone that's had an interest in business on both sides of consumer and business, I've seen, and it's a reality that we need to create things and be in the world to put our brand out there. So, it's been a journey to actually get out and creating content. I will say that my real journey probably started about 2 years ago when I started
Mhm.
to launch my podcast. That was the Binge Thinker. And I felt compelled to create this podcast because this was around the pandemic time. And podcasts were booming in the world of comedy. Comedy was probably one of the biggest winners of the
Yeah.
pandemic. And I was in the Australian scene as a producer and as a performer. And so, but I was compelled to create my podcast because I went through a transformation, basically a spiritual awakening, which we've talked about separately, where
Yeah.
I went through a real physical, mental, spiritual change, and I felt amazing, and I felt like I felt compelled to share the story because I knew that I was doing something that's pretty unique and out there. But what I've come to realize is that I had a lot of fear of being in front of a camera. And if for like my first episode did not was not in video. It was just a purely audio podcast, but I knew that video was the future because I started to see the video podcasts that were showing up on YouTube.
Right.
So um, I knew I had to create content. If I wanted to be in the world and start something of my own one day, I would have to get comfortable in front of a camera. And so my journey to create content was a necessity because it's the future of digital business and that's the world we live in. And I've been immersed in tech and I know that's the only way forward. And then I had to basically get over my fear of being seen on a camera, on a lens.
So how'd you do
So
that? What was the process to get over that fear? Because I know a lot of people struggle with that.
yeah, it's just exposure, mate. It's just exposure. And one of the strange little facts that I've sort of picked up is it's so funny. Like you could be like I was a virtual seller for a couple of years there because of the pandemic, and it's so fine to talk to people like we're having a conversation right now
Right.
when there's someone across the other side of the fence. So it's not really the problem of the lens, but the moment that lens shifts to a more personal perspective and you feel like you have to talk to the world, it
Yeah.
gets a little bit paralyzing. There's a lot of fear involved with it. But literally, you're just staring down, straight down at the different lens in different places. You shouldn't disconnect or shouldn't think there's anything different happening. But, fears are irrational and you just have to get the nervous system adjusted. You just have to get through it. Um, but I've already found the immense benefits of connecting with people at scale, which is the fantastic beauty of social media when it's done right. Is that when I've put myself out there and talked about some pretty real things about life, not just about technology, for example, you do get to transmit genuine connection through a lens to the world, and then people resonate with that, and you connect with that, and when you feel that and you experience that, having strangers from all around the world, reach out to you and say, "Hey, I love what you're doing, really connected with you," then that the incentive and the amazing feeling behind that sort of just compels you to keep going, and you just sort of have to get over yourself and
Right.
and push through, right? Um,
So the key is to just start doing it. And I've noticed that um, in some of your posts, probably I think it may have been 6 months ago or so, you posted your physical transformation that you had.
mm,
And when you posted those pictures, like, whoa, I haven't seen anybody like come on LinkedIn bare chested
yeah,
before. And you put yourself out there. You had
that
the
was
little
risky.
stickies.
That was
You had the
yeah,
little stickies in the right places, right? But I was
yeah.
like, wow, that's really a way of engaging and telling a story because it caught my attention. Like, wow, what's the story behind this? And it really got me
Mm.
engaged.
Yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, and that's it, is that we have to push boundaries a little bit in this space because we are at a frontier, right? Social media content creation and putting authentic new messages about ourselves out into the world is a new frontier. So you have to experiment and you have to show how to connect and relate because like we talked about previously, the common platitudes of marketing and business messages don't connect. Is
Yeah, they
that
don't.
we
What
want
you also
authentic.
did that was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
We got the little delay with Australia and New Jersey. So,
yeah. You have something to say?
no, I was going to say, and you also put yourself out there. You had pictures of yourself when you were a kid, like on the
Mm,
computer, and I guess you're on the newspaper. And so, talk about engaging. Those are the type of things that give people pause. Okay, what's going on here? I want to understand that story. So I thought it was
yeah.
really good. Um, the pandemic, seems to be a theme. A lot of people started creating content
Mm.
during the pandemic. So you started out with a podcast. When did you start to post content associated with work?
Only in the last 3 months. Um, Only in the last 3 months because what I've been building for the last 12 months is a B2B technology sales course. So I knew that I had to be in the world and provide value and show proof for that, and LinkedIn was the platform for that. So it's a necessity, but it is good to show the value and helps me get all of my thoughts out into the world in a way that is beneficial to others. But yeah, the B2B content posting, couple of months, but I've got heaps more planned. Like, again, I want to synthesize my expertise or my experience at the very least from comedy and music, and bring all of these other elements of
Right.
myself into this world, because part of my brand is to, like you said, all these dimensions that you introduced me with, is to bring the whole self into my brand, because a lot of the lessons that I've learned about technology sales in life hasn't just come from selling to customers all day. It's being on stage and having to face the fear of public speaking, or performing for, as a musician, or creating experiences as a producer. So these are the things that I bring in from different areas of my life that give me a unique blend of why I am effective. And I understand that these have all contributed holistically. Like one of my disconnections, or one of my mental thoughts is that there is no disconnection. Everything is connected, right? We are having holistic human experiences, so there's a lot of value to be had in bringing those elements into our lives and integrating them together. That's going to be the future, I think, is synthesizing our different degrees and dimensions of ourselves and showing
Hmm.
how they fit the bigger picture.
Yeah. And I think, in terms of the bigger picture and being fortunate in terms of a sequence of events,
Mm,
One of the things that I noted in your introduction is that you were top 1% of sales within Cisco, and that's not an easy thing to do at all, right? It's top
mm,
1%. It's
yes.
not top 10%, it's top 1%. And as a result of that, um, as you talk about launching your business, obviously that gives you credibility to then launch your business. Because not only were you top 1% within Cisco, but in previous positions as well.
Yeah.
Um, and then something happened on your journey to the celebration for that achieving that top 1%. So talk to me a little bit about that, because it's important in the context not only of going viral, but being fortunate to now have that additional, I call it a boost for when now you're on LinkedIn and now you want to position your business, right? So
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
to me about that.
Sure. I mean, so I'm a spiritual person, and that's been part of my awakening of the last few years. And I'm a big believer in synchronicity and,
Mm-hmm.
the universe working in my favor and sort of helping me along this journey. So we'll talk about that, but let's take a half step back even. So I had this idea for the Tech Sales Academy probably about end of 2021, just after I got made redundant from my previous company whilst being a top 1% performer. So I
Mm-hmm.
had this idea. I was teaching and mentoring people, and I knew that the massive skill gap that exists in B2B tech sales, education is there. So I built the course, parked it to pursue another business. About a year and a half later, I started to pick the business up again. I was like, my comedy business idea didn't work. Let me pick up this business, Tech Sales Academy, and run with that instead. And that was what, December 2022 that I decided to do that. And I had just been with Cisco maybe 6, 7 months, but hadn't really hit my straps yet as far as the performance had gone.
Right.
In the 12 months since that, me going, let me dig into this. I won 3 global top sales awards inside Cisco, 2 perfect 10s, and then club.
Wow.
And so, yeah, and this was in my first full year at Cisco. Is that honestly, I don't think anyone has had a better first year in
That's
Cisco
a heck of
ever.
a way to start. Yeah.
Yeah, to go top 1%, 2 other global top sales awards in this virtual sales business, finishing the year as Cisco's #1 virtual seller worldwide. Crazy. So I knew that I was building this up, and then the synchronicity of that, I'm like, okay, sure, my system works, but how can I be, winning so well and then having this journey being put
Mm-hmm.
in front of me to discover, the course and doing research while I was on these global trips to understand what's happening in the rest of the market to formulate this idea and belief to go, this this idea really, really has legs, and to go deep on that. So when I won club, amazing experience. I actually at the sales kickoff with at Impact, I
Mm-hmm.
actually walked onto that stage in front of 20,000 people on my 33rd birthday.
Wow.
So that's another
Synchronicity.
amazing synchronicity.
Yeah.
And to take it even a step further, the Club Cisco trip in Hawaii, that happened 4 years to the day when I had my epiphany and my awakening moment, right? So, insane amounts of synchronicity been happening in
Mm-hmm.
my life in this journey. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't really to take this half step back. So the video you're talking about is I had won Club Cisco top 1%. I knew that I was building this course, so I was like, let me document this trip because this people want to see the perks. People want to
Yeah.
see what awaits you when you are a top performer. So the holiday, the prestige, meeting with the execs, it's all amazing stuff. So I filmed the documentary end to end, and on my trip from Sydney to Honolulu to go to Hawaii, it was my first business class flight with my mum. I took her as my +1 for the trip.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I had to get sent back from business class to economy on that trip because there was an issue with the seat and there was no other seats available.
Was it poorly engineered or something?
Misengineered. Misengineered was the
Misengineered.
term that I used, and I will have to clarify that en masse. I have about 4,000 comments on TikTok asking, what does misengineered mean? All
It
right.
was
I made it
broke.
up on the spot. I don't know what's going on. All right. But I took, yeah, so I filmed it. I filmed this clip of me being sent back, not because I wanted to put any hate on Qantas or anything like that. It was just the irony, again, the spiritual irony for
Yes.
me of celebrating material success. I was in 1A on that flight, right?
Mm.
Pointiest end of the plane, to then be in 36E within less than 10 minutes before we've even left off the runway. So I just
What cracked me up is when you went from first class. As soon as you walked through that curtain, that baby was
that baby,
running.
yeah, yeah. That's the funniest part for me. That's what cracked me up as well. I was like, how strong is that curtain? Is that
Yeah,
thing
it
loose? What
was
is
like a
going on?
different world.
Yeah, and it definitely feels like a different world. So then yeah, I put the clip up, and I didn't think much of it. I just thought it was funny and ironic, and I had not gotten any traction on TikTok previous to this, so it
Hmm.
wasn't like I was. I was just like, let's see what happens with this. I think this is funny,
Right.
and this clip absolutely blows up. And within 24 hours, it's on like 3 million views. Within 48 hours, it's on like 6 million views on TikTok, and it's just going viral in Australia and all over the place. I'm getting like within 48 hours, I've got national news coverage. I have an article, no, like a short clip on the national news here in Australia. I'm on the front page of one of our major news websites. I've got other major publications like the Daily Mail for the UK, the New Zealand Herald, Business Insider reaching out. I'm doing interviews with them. They're making articles.
Wow.
There's articles
Yeah.
being made without even my knowledge, and this thing
Yeah.
is going absolutely viral because people are so just like there's an overwhelmingly positive response about how I handled the situation because I was like very relaxed about it, and I still maintain that relaxation because to talk about those synchronicities, man, like
Hmm.
all this beautiful journey that's happening along the way, and knowing that when I reach Hawaii, it's going to be beautiful anyway. I don't need this trip. I don't need this, business class flight to show that I've made it. And again, this spiritual journey that I've been on to go, hey, better things are coming. Like this is nothing. The material success is nothing. This is going to get way bigger. There's no point in kicking up a fuss. And as well, there's plenty of other Cisco people. What am I going to do? Kick up a fuss and then look bad because I'm, cracking the sag?
Right.
You've got to have some decorum.
Yeah. What I think was amazing about it and the reason that it went viral is usually on TikTok or social media, it's the negative stuff that goes viral, right? It's somebody yelling at somebody else at an airport,
Mm,
somebody losing my bag or charging me for a bag that fits, but they're saying it doesn't fit, right?
yeah.
But yours was totally the opposite, where it was, wow, this guy's so chill. He handled this situation in such an unexpected way. Because, and plus, I think a lot of people didn't really understand the backstory of, like you said, your synchronicity, but the fact that this was just part of a overall trip that you were looking forward to, and
Mm.
plus you didn't pay for the tickets, right? So how
No,
mad can you
exactly
be?
right. I mean, even if I did, again, it's just money. Like
Yeah.
honestly, one of the cause to my success, even though I've been in sales, is to not worry about the money. Is
Hmm.
to not
It'll
necessarily worry
come,
about the
right? You
cost.
do the right thing, it'll come. Yeah.
Exactly right. That's been my philosophy since day one. And it's something that I teach in the course is that if you are just good to people and you solve their problems and you are earnest about what you do, money comes, right?
Hmm.
Success comes. You have to work on that higher vibrational level of helping people, having a servant attitude, and just being as selfless as you can to solve people's problems. And the rewards come as a result.
Yeah.
So so I would have, in these situations like this, same thing happens, right? Is that I'll get my money back. They'll look after me. This is not
Hmm.
just a one and done situation. I understand how customer service works. I've been in it for a decade, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's just like there's no point getting angry about these sort of things. I've I've done a lot of things in my life, and I've been to hell in plenty other ways for me to brush something like being where I've been my entire life in economy when I've flown and be back there again. It's not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal
So,
at
so
all.
those two things in common, the fact that you're a 1%, the fact that you then have the opportunity to show the benefits of being the 1%.
Mm,
Then the fact that in filming that, something goes a little bit awry, but it actually ends up being a benefit because it now gives you this larger platform. As I
Yeah.
said, it's the boost, right? So you
Yeah.
talk about synchronicity to get your business started. And so
Mm,
now what you can do and what I've seen you do, and that's what I want to get into,
mm,
is you've created this overall body of content, right? As
mm,
for a
mm.
course. So talk about the ultimate tech content creator. You've got what, at least 8 hours now of video content and coaching content to help
Mm.
people early in career or even mid-career, or refresh some old guys who've been out there a while on,
Yeah.
how to be a tech seller and be successful. And
Mm.
so all of that is, so you've got all this content now, and now I see you doubling down on LinkedIn because now you can use that platform to drive business. So talk a little bit about your strategy on how you're starting to create content, how often you're posting, what's that been like, and how long have you been doing that?
Sure, sure, sure. So yeah, I've been building this course for about the ideas and the IP behind it about 2 years. Is that I started my original deck of IP around what I wanted to teach. So my
Hmm.
theory behind Tech Sales Academy is yes, I am a top 1% seller. And I know there's a massive gap in introductory tech sales education because I am obsessive about being my best and I have tried to find it and I have not found it. So, and I have been mentoring and developing young talent for years now, even though I'm relatively young in my own career,
Hmm.
because I know how tough that business is. Because I've been inundated, and can we swear on this podcast?
Sure.
That because I'll say it once that
You
everyone.
so you can swear on this podcast because the entire podcast goes on YouTube. So I don't give a shit what's on it in terms of language. But
Sure.
obviously, when I post on LinkedIn, I won't have the curse words.
Okay. Well, we can bleep it. I'm just going to say one. But basically, this is what I say that everyone in technology sales has is a what the fuck is going on moment.
Hmm.
Right? Is that when you start, you get your start and you're excited and you're like, this will just be about schmoozing customers and wearing a suit and breaking out the company
Right.
credit card. You
Hmm.
walk into this absolute mess of internal processes you never even considered. And you realize that it's so hard to actually speak to customers. And then there are so many different business units vying for your time, especially as an account executive. And that's what I spent
Right.
my early career in. So this is a mess and it's undocumented and it's highly unstructured. And I've had to operate.
Organized chaos, right?
Yes. And
Unorganized chaos.
correct. So, I've lived through the wars like everyone else. I've taken a look back on my career, and I've helped a lot of other people in their career to go. There's a common theme here: is that we are not structured. There is not a fundamental education. So, the theory behind Tech Sales Academy is: if I had to build you from scratch, if I had to start you, if I had to start my career again, really, what
Hmm.
would I need to learn? What I think is extremely important for me to understand to be an elite tech seller again. Right? If I This course is really for me 7 years ago. But by default, that 7 years ago is the majority of, it's the next generation of technology seller that's having the same problems. And when I went, as part of these trips, I went with Cisco, I went to Europe and I went to the US and I went to the grad programs in Cisco to see what they're learning. And I'm
Hmm.
realizing, again, it's generational problems. You're not learning the soft skills and the people skills and
Yeah.
the sales psychology and the EQ, the stuff that's really important, nor do you have good operational day to day structure and function in your life and how to manage a portfolio properly. So
Hmm.
that's what I've built is, I've built this body of work of what I want. If I had to build an elite seller, what would I teach you? How would I
Hmm.
structure you? And that's what the course is now. And realistically, it's 8 hours of content. It could be 15 plus, but I was told by my own coaches in course development to be like, tone it down because people don't
Yeah.
have that much of an attention span.
Attention span.
Yeah, yeah. So I've had to break it down.
Yeah.
So that's the body of work that sits at the bottom of the funnel. But then, I've been marketing and sales. I understand that I've got to fill the funnel with
Hmm.
engagement. And that's what social media is for. And that's what we're all doing, building brands out here. So
Yeah.
basically, I cut my course up into, anywhere from 100 to 365 pieces
Wow.
and into insights. And that's
Hmm.
my content is to go, you could build this course brick by brick if you wanted to, if
Hmm.
you want to pay attention for a year, I don't
Hmm.
care because I can give you every piece of the puzzle, but you're going to want the instructions and how to make that work. And
Right.
that's the value of the course is me putting it together for you and putting the pieces together for you. So the content that I put out there, it's all lived experience. It's a mix of insights from my time, from things I picked up from other experts, just some fundamentals, around psychology and people that aren't really found anywhere in business. Because I think one of the challenges around that, particularly on the people side of technology, you know, there's a lot of shadow in there. And by that I mean sometimes people can think sales is manipulative and they don't want to talk about how they engage customers because they think it's a form of manipulation, but it's not.
Right.
It's servant leadership, right? You are guiding your customers through a pathway to help ensure that your solution meets their needs. But so I think there's a lot of issue around that. And then there's something around political correctness that we don't want to make assumptions about people and we're afraid to do so unless we were perceived as an expert in that space. But
Right.
I have dealt with thousands of people, not just professionally, but unprofessionally. As a
Hmm.
comedian, as a musician, as a performer, I've spent my entire life trying to entertain people and make them feel good. So I know what works. And that's
Hmm.
how I synthesize that. And because I didn't come from the corporate world, as in, I never really cared to be a corporate person. I was a creative way before I was a tech seller in the enterprise space. I don't have that degree of, trying to stay within the four walls and stay within the box. And that and having that range of expression and knowing that I can be a more complete human being compared to others who feel afraid to show their authentic selves in public, that gives me a significant advantage over a lot of people. And it's helped me differentiate between myself and other account managers and other tech sales people who want to play the game and wear the mask of I am Mr. Corporate and I am the suit. But realistically, I'll speak to anyone like I'm speaking to you right now. I speak to
Right.
customers, I'll speak to an exec, I'll speak to anyone like this
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's humanity.
Yeah. So I think the lesson there is interesting, right? So you came at tech sales from the creative, from a creative perspective, right? Just
Mm,
being human, just look, you're just another person. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to solve your problems.
yeah.
Whereas people who may have been in tech sales for a while
Mm,
may not have that creative gene developed yet, right? And so
mm,
part of why some folks want to get on social media and start to create content is to start to develop that gene, because the more you do it, the better you
mm,
get at it, right? And so it's almost
yeah.
like you're coming at it from a creative perspective, not knowing tech,
Mm,
but have been damn successful in selling tech because of that creative. So that
mm,
makes the case for, hey, folks who are in tech sales who may not have really exercised that creative gene, you might want to think about it, because we
mm.
can meet somewhere in the middle, right? Where you have the tech skills and the creative skills and then
Absolutely.
otherwise be successful, right?
Yeah. And the reason why I really differentiate in this world is because I mean realistically the tech industry is only about 30 to 35 years old.
Yeah, it's not that old. Yeah.
It's young, and um, what I've really said is that most of the tech world is filled with nerds, right? Tech people, right? But I'm a
Hmm.
nerd as well. That there's two types of people in tech. There's the tech people and the people. Tech
Hmm.
people, engineers, architects, the nerds, right? Me, I'm a social engineer, a mental engineer, right? I am nerdy about human interaction and people. And I think that's the reason why, because most of the industry has been focused on technology and less about people, and it's very logical and very structured. Most of the people that exist in this industry are, more logically minded. But now, as we get closer to the human element and technology has so much of an impact on society and our individual, lives and well-beings, you have to dig into this creative and human element because that's who we are in reality, and realistically, in the next 10 years, that's all we're going to have. Is that one of the reasons why I'm building my course is because I can see the decline of technical skills. And in 10 years, the technology is going to take care of itself. So
Hmm.
my course is focused on soft and people skills because you'll be dealing with people your entire life.
Right.
As you climb the ladder, you need to get better at managing more high leverage people and getting to know them and getting into their worlds. And this is what
Hmm.
it's built on. Is I'm building for the future of technology because I can see that the technology isn't necessarily that important anymore, and it certainly hasn't been to me for my success. Is that I've got plenty of other technical people to do that grunt work. I am the human conduit to between their logical brains and the emotional thoughts and processes of the customer. right?
So, Jameel, you got this new business that you're starting.
Mm,
You're not working for someone other than yourself anymore. I work for a large company. So
mm,
when I post, it's about things that I learn, things that I think my customers are interested in. And I try to be authentic and creative in the whole nine yards for that. Um, you've developed a course, and so now you need to try to promote that course. So you have two paths that you can take. You
mm.
could take the traditional, I'll call it corporate marketing approach
Yeah,
to advertisement, or you can take the other approach, which is the more authentic. I'm gonna, feed you a little bit of information each time, but I'm gonna do it in a fun way. I'm
yeah,
going to use different sorts of media. I'm gonna use text. I'm gonna use carousels. I'm gonna use videos.
mm.
So talk to me about your process and your thinking with that. And I guess you've been posting for 2 or 3 months now. So how's it going?
Yeah, yeah. The posting's been great. I mean, the growth has been surprising. Obviously, I've got the brand being pushed upon me of being a good guy in the virality, which has certainly helped.
Yeah.
So honestly, I know that I'm in the fundamental stages of content creation. I've got so many more ideas that I want to execute on. I've just been busy building the
Hmm.
course. But once
Yeah.
I've got this, I'm so excited to actually be done with the course so I can focus on more creative ways to create content. So realistically, the fundamentals for me, I have a coach in business and in social media development.
Hmm.
Well, they basically it's focused on systems, and so I've copied and pasted their social media systems and how to engage and create content. And my mediums will vary. It's a mix. I'm still experimenting, but
Hmm.
there are trends that you need to hop on, like listicles, and now I've got cheat sheets coming that are
Yeah.
big blocks of lessons. So
Yeah.
the palette of what I use varies. It just depends on what I need to communicate through the medium.
Hmm.
And so it really does vary. And then, again, there are trends that you have to follow. But I will be certainly taking a more creative element to that in the future because my so I have a marketing degree, but I actually wanted to get into advertising first. I actually enjoy
Mm.
like, making ads and having creative ideas for them. So I've got a heap of them in my brain dump, ready to go.
Yeah.
And some of that will just be for the joy of creating ads and art for thoughts that I've got in my head. But for the strategy, it's consistent posting every day, right? You need to be present every day. You've got to show up. It's a continual habit. Most of the growth I'm starting to realize now is not just in the content that you create and post, it's in the engagement and expanding that
Yeah.
network, right? That's where the real growth is now. It's not enough to just be a passive, because you can just automate content creation in the back end, which I'm doing. But that, again, that doesn't add a human element. You might get a little bit of information, but that
Right.
reach, that engagement, we're creating digital communities here, and you can't
Right.
create a community if you are not present in it. So, yeah, I think for people that are getting started, work with the medium that works best for you. Experiment. You have to keep experimenting. It's a constant iteration and experimentation. There is a meta to the game of social media content creation that I'm starting to understand now, which is how do I grow? What's trending and what's hot right now?
Hmm.
And I would say if you are getting started, invest in these social media people that you align with because you need coaching and mentoring. Is that I've got coaching and mentoring in basically every degree of my life. I have a fitness coach, I go to therapy, I have a business coach, and I do the same thing. Is that we're all helping each other pull each other up.
Right.
Is that I've got mentors that help me go up to the next level, and I'm through my course, I'm helping people get to the next level.
Mhm.
So, and especially if I'm an anxious person, I talk about my mental health openly. So I've got 1,000 reasons not to do something or to be distracted. And so having mentors and investing, if this is your life and this is the future you want, you need to invest in it, right? And having a great mentor, having a great people around you that can help you get outside of your own head to give you that clear path. That's the beauty of leadership and mentoring when you have a great guide, right? Is to get you out of your head and map the journey for you because they've already been there.
Yeah. So what's your biggest challenge so far as you've embarked on this journey to, support your own business and by, part of the growth strategy is to leverage social media. What's been the biggest challenge?
Right now, it's time. Um, it's just, yeah, I have to be all in on building a product. So I know, right? Yeah, there's so many plates to running your own business, right? To,
Yeah.
marketing, there's sales. I have operations. I have someone on my team that I need to, be responsible for, and constantly think of these new ideas. So the time management has been the challenge. I'm looking forward to leaning into engaging more and creating more content once this course is done. um, I think, yeah, for me, the biggest challenge initially was getting over myself first and foremost. Is that I still pick at my own face, right? The moment I look at it, like I'm getting better at enjoying myself on camera and appreciating what I do. But yeah, there's a great creator called Courtney Johnson. She explains, get over cringe mountain. You have to get over cringe mountain.
Yeah.
You just have to acknowledge you're just going to look the way you are, and you need to move forward, and people don't perceive you that way. That's just in your own
Mhm.
head. That's the biggest challenge, is to get over that and be okay to be seen, because realistically, we are seen every single day. There is just something that is paralyzing about the lens
Right.
and being seen by the world that can get to you. But once you get those benefits and you see how it works in your favor, just like it does for everyone else, and you get rid of that bias where you think, oh, it works for everyone else, but it's not going to work for me, then you can start to lean in and you expand as a person, and you get to, you get to experiment with it more, and you treat it more like a game. So I think, yeah, the sticking points: getting over myself, and then building systems of consistency, right? That your success is defined by your habits. You can automate your habits. You just need to have things you want to talk about, right? Yeah, that's another thing. Get off the hamster wheel. Is that I schedule content weeks in advance. Is that you don't want to be constantly just making what you need to, just throwing it into the ether and throwing it onto social media and then on that constant wheel. There are systems and processes that you can build in the back end to automate this and simplify this,
That's right.
because you've got lives to live, and if you're starting a side hustle, your business is back, sitting back here, and your everyday life is roaring ahead. So how do you find the balance for that? And
You got to
yeah,
batch. You got to batch content.
yeah,
Right.
you do.
Yeah.
Absolutely do. Get ahead of the game. It doesn't. People might think it's disingenuous, but it's not, because your message to the world should still be relevant, irrespective of when you've posted it compared to when you've created it. Right? It's still
Right.
useful. So just put it out there. Have something that you're proud to share.
Yeah. Yeah. So I imagine you have some goals now in terms of growth and engagement. Are you looking at particular metrics and tracking that as you're growing, and then experimenting and saying, okay, sort of A/B comparison testing? Well, this works versus that works. Are you down that path yet, or are you just I, I'm in the mode where I got so much going on. I'm just putting content out there, and I'll worry about looking at metrics later.
Yeah, I'm in mode B right now. Is
Yeah,
that,
so I figured.
look, yeah, I can't complain about how I've been growing. People have been buying my course pre-sale, and that's amazing to have that happen with zero direct response marketing, as in, hey, buy my course. All
Right,
of my calls to action have been around my newsletter and converting rented audiences into own audiences. So the fact that people are vibing with what I'm doing, that my message is resonating, the content, people are loving it, and they're going, yes, I want to invest in this. I'm It's amazing. I've only got 2,100 followers on LinkedIn, right? And I gained 1,000 of those, maybe more, in the last 3 months from the virality
wow,
and the
yeah,
consistency.
yeah,
So to be converting down into sales, that's the idea as a content creator, right? Is you need to convert down your funnel, and
hmm,
sales. So I'm very happy with where it is, because I know that I haven't really put direct effort into it yet. Once I spend an hour engaging on the platforms, once I really get my ideas out into the world, then I can look at what's working, what's not. Right now, it is just make some noise, get out there, get into the world. I'm going to launch my course officially in the next week or two, and I've got some content ready to go. Like, I've got some
hmm,
hard hitting stuff that will, that'll challenge people, and then the documentary for the course will be coming out as well. So you'll get to see the perks, right? You'll
yeah,
get to see the lifestyle, the wins, and that's what the people are out there for. We're here to level up and make our lives better through a great career. So what does that look like? Let me show you.
yeah. I can't wait to see it. And one of the things Alexa said on the first podcast was, you can have 100,000 followers, but if you don't have engagement, you rather have 2,000 followers with a lot of engagement, that
Hmm.
niche, and then people who are really invested in you And based on that intimate set of folks who actually purchase your course versus having 100,000 followers and you're not really engaged with them and it's just
Yeah.
viewed, right? So
Mm.
that's the real metrics of success, is as it translates into engagement, translates into business. So that's an
Mm.
important lesson.
Yeah,
Any
absolutely.
any final words? We've been here for like 40 minutes now. We've been having a good
Really?
conversation.
Wow, time
Yeah.
flies. We're having fun,
Yep.
mate. Look, no, I mean, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate the initiative that you're putting in here to, to help people in this world. It is, again, it's a new frontier that we're
Yeah.
working in, right? We're in a niche, but we have so much leverage in the tech world. We can influence so much of society right now as being inside the tech world and the tech bubble. Like, it's up to people like us who, want to use tech for good and put our message out there for the benefit of what technology can provide for a better world. And one of the
Yeah.
things I say is, I'm doing this to create abundant futures. I've got an abundant future. I've had an amazing career in technology. And I'm just trying to pass that gift on and use the scale of social media and the leverage that we've got in this world, because technology is here to stay, and so is social media. So if we can put things out into the world that can help people build these abundant futures for themselves, what we've been promised in air quotes by society for this better world we're supposed to live in, then we've just got to go out there and take that risk. And yeah, I mean, thank you, John. I really appreciate the time that we've had here. I guess is this where I do plugs or?
We've been plugging the whole 40
I know,
minutes. What are
I
you talking
know.
about?
Yeah, yeah,
But
no,
yes, please,
absolutely.
yeah, talk about where people can find your course.
Yeah, so go to www.techsales.academy. And that's another thing, right? Is that the tech world is so underserved that I could pick up a URL like Tech Sales Academy
Yeah,
and
that's
no one else,
amazing that it's available, right?
yeah, that it's available, right? So techsales.academy for my signature course, Tech Sales OS. You get it's in my entire top to bottom tech sales process, and all of the lessons that I've accumulated over my career to help the next generation of tech seller. Right? If I had to build you into an elite tech seller, this is it. I am open source. It's not just the course, it's the community. So you get to interact with me every day, and I'm just as open with everyone as I'm with you. Right? It's just, how can I pass and be this mentor and be this next generation of leader to help enable this community? That's what I'm really trying to do here. So yeah, that's really all I've got to plug. Is the course. I'm very excited to get it out there. Like, it's been, yeah, I can tell you with absolute core of my heart that you will not see anything like this on the internet. You will not find anything like this in the world, because there is so much of outside the world of tech that's in here, and that's what's exciting, is to bring the whole self and hopefully provide that, you know, that example of bringing the whole self into the world of tech, so you can live, a more embodied, individualized life.
Yeah. Well, I sense the passion. Jameel, I thank you for giving us insight and inspiration. This has been inspirational, so that others can think about, not only think about, but take that leap and start creating content and learn how to reap the benefits of doing so. So this is John Seaton. This is Enterprise Tech Content Creators. This has been Jameel Rehman. Thank you again, and I appreciate you joining us. Until next time, take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.